Hello, my name is Michael Dwyer, and I'm with Rochester Writers. Once again, Rochester Writers and the Rochester Hills Public Library have teamed up to host their annual author fair. Now in its third year, we're hosting 20 authors in person at the library in downtown Rochester on Saturday, November 27th from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. These short videos offer you a chance to meet the authors. And right now, we're going to meet Robert D. Cornwall. Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Michael.
So glad you could join us today here for the author fair and in person back after a lapse of not being in person last year. We're excited to get everybody together in one room and talk about books and reading. And your most recent book will be featured, Call to Bless. Tell us about that.
So this book is part memoir. It's based on my own journey. I'm an ordained Disciples of Christ pastor, but I was born and raised an Episcopalian, became Pentecostal in high school, and I've been some other things along the way. And I wrote the book in part as a way of helping tell my story, but also help many others who have had similar journeys. To put together their own story, how to make sense of their own journey of going through a variety of traditions. Oftentimes, what we end up doing is feeling like we have to set the places we've been aside in order to move on to the next thing. And what I'm trying to do here is help people kind of bring all that together and to recognize that all of these different places we've been along the way help form who we are as people of faith. So that's the kind of the foundation of the book. And I use the story of Abraham's call in Genesis 12 as a biblical thread through the book, with the final push being that we are called to be a blessing to the nations, just as Abraham was called to be a blessing. So that's it's written from a Christian perspective. That's where I'm at. I'm a mainline Protestant pastor, retired recently, but currently preaching at a local Presbyterian church.
Well, that sounds fascinating and interesting in the sense that we don't always think about our path through life and how it does change how our belief structure is. And when it comes to something like faith, those can be changes, but they can also be challenges.
Definitely. And part of the impetus for that thinking about this was I was in a conversation with a major Pentecostal theologian. We were talking about another book that I'll have with me. It's called Unfettered Spirit, Spiritual Gifts for the New Great Awakening. And I kept on referring to myself as an ex-Pentecostal, and Amos said, "Why do you keep on referring to yourself as an ex-Pentecostal? Just own it." And that got me to thinking about the reality is, I just need to own who I am. And that's what I'm hopeful that other people can just say, own who you are. And recognize that all these stopping points along the way make you a unique individual. And so I'm hopeful that it will be a help to people.
I think it would be because, I know lots of people that struggle with, where their faith is and what denomination and things like that. I am kind of envious towards those. I have family members myself that are Catholic, and they were born Catholic, and they went through the whole thing, and they're definitely Catholic, and there's no changing them. So they've only had that one thing. But I think we weave around, and we know we have an underlying faith, but where do we define it, or how do we define it, is sometimes a struggle. And I'm glad you're writing books to help people, probably like me, to try to keep on that path and understand what it means, it sounds like.
Yeah. You know, I mean, especially today, it's just a growing trend that for people to have been many different places. I mean, there are still, I know plenty of people that, you know, they're fifth or sixth generations in their denominational tradition, and they've never been anything else and not thought about anything else. But I think they're becoming fewer and fewer as we become a more mobile society. We move to a new community. We look around for a home for ourselves spiritually. And, you know, maybe we land in a place where the denomination we were previously part of doesn't exist, or it doesn't fit who we are. And so we move on to something else that fits. And so that's kind of the way I think a growing number of, and then on the flip side of that, our churches are more likely made up of people whose background is different than the denominational tradition. So they're struggling with the same question. How do we bring all these people together into one place and allow them to bring what their background into the conversation? So it kind of has it's a two-part book.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely interesting, and I think we could probably talk for an hour about this whole subject, maybe even longer. But we're out of time today. We're just trying to promote the author fair, so I'll give it back to you for just a quick. How would you like to invite people to stop by your table?
Well, I love to talk with people and share stories. So come by, tell me your story. I'll tell you my story, and of course, I would love for you to take home one of my books and to help you with your story. But I'm looking forward to having the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bob Cornwall. Stop by the author tables on November 27th. Meet Bob, get one of his books. I'm sure he'll sign it for you. We'll see you on that Saturday, November 27th. Thank you.
You're welcome.